Good afternoon, everyone. Madungog ko.
Afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon po, ma'am.
Yes po, ma'am.
Yes po, ma'am.
Dili na kaay ko mo ba na itong istorya kasi sakit dyan ako ang throat. Medyo na ako'y uboy. Not really feeling well. Ay, murag feeling na ako. Murag dili jud kompleto ang January pag wala din jud ka dili ka maka-testing og mga ingani. I hope everyone is well. Dili jud siya maayo maglakaw-lakaw karon kasi murag ano gid siya, flu season gid siya. Anyway, so for today, what we are going to do, no, is we will be having our introductory part for our decimal. So we will no longer describe or even tawag dito, discuss the contents of our curriculum guide in math because I believe nahuman naman na siya dito sa Edmat 1, no? So nana na siya dito so no need na nga magbalik-balik pa ta dito kasi you already know that. So kabalo na mo ana. So we will just go directly with the decimal. So probably what we are just going to do now is we will just be having like introductory part of the decimal, the features of the decimals, mga ingana lang, no? Kasi um, by Monday na ta mag-rounding decimal. So supposedly mag-rounding decimal unta ta karon pero I realize nga dili lang sa ta mo pa una-unahon kasi sa morning session manggod sa batch sa morning naan pa manggod sila sa introductory pod. So mag-rounding decimals pa mi by Monday. So akong gusto manggod no nga maparehas lang mo og pacing, so, walay mo advance sa inyo ha, wala po'y ma-behind para pag maghatag tag activity, you will also be doing the same activities, same time and pacing gihapon. So para dili kayo ko ma-worry ba nya basig makalimot-limot na kung nga oy dinhi na day mo na bitaw unsa pa na diha. Okay? Sige. So before we go with this one, please make sure to yourself no that you have your own paper, you have your own pencil with you. Mas maayo pencil no para dili kayo ta magsigi og erase. It's really important to take notes kasi from time to time we will also be solving. And also, if you have your scientific calculator with you, good thing, mas maayo no kay para ma-training gud ka. So I always say this one, pag nakakay-cycle, make sure that your cycle that you will be using this uh, as a college student will also be your cycle that you will be doing or you will be using during the board examination. Para at least ano na ka, kanang sa tawagan ni, naa na kay confidence, ug naa na kay tiwala, naa na kay trust sa imuhang calcu. So, ana na siya, no? So, kailangan banding mo ni calcu ninyo for how many years? Para dili kay ka makulbaan magamit sa inyong calcu kasi wala lang. Based on my experience lang yun na, no? And even to the experiences also of my classmates, it's not really good to buy a new calculator a month before or months before your board examination. So, it's not good. Dili man yun sa ano, no? Pero, basta, I don't know if you get the feeling. Basta, dili mo gug ka nang kag wala nakaila ba. So, ila-ilahon yun mo imong cycle. So, mas maayo kung sige gamit nimo karon mao na imong gamiton. So, let your scientific calculator be your best friend. Ana lang. Okay, sige. So, before we go with this one, supposedly, I will be using my digital board, no? Pero, I guess I cannot use it kasi nabili nang ako ang pen. Itawa ka na nga pen, ha? Stylus. May stylus pen. Nabili mong good siya. So, I cannot really demonstrate well. Pero, we will have a testing para makita ninyo what would be our situation. Kasi, lisod manggod no, magtudlo taong math. It's really difficult to teach math without using any materials or resources for us to teach. Kasi, I cannot have my board here. I don't have a whiteboard at the back, and even if I have the board, maglisod gihapon ko. So maybe sa tawag na, mo mirror sa inyo ha. And also if I will use the cam, tapos ako siya ipakita dira, basig dili po ninyo makita. So this will be our solution. Let me just show you ha, saglit. Testing sa takay para may balaan na to. Kasi murag wala na ko ni na-apply sa inyo ha ata. Murag na-apply na ko ni siya sa inyo ha, pero dito sa music, I forgot already. Pero lahi na pud ni. Let me just VNQ, GG. Okay. Okay. Sige daw. Makadungog mong feedback? Naay feedback? Wala.
Wala, ma'am.
Okay. So, wala yung feedback. Sige ha. Let me just, ano daw, okay? Mukha sa akong cellphone eh. Okay, naay nakita? Wala. Naa. Okay, good. So what we are going to do now, actually no, I am showing you this one kasi this would be very helpful for all of you also, no? Especially if you want to become a online tutor or online teacher, you can do this actually. Okay, so from time to time, sorry for my face. From time to time, we will be using this one as our board. So I cannot actually use my pens on the right side kasi I don't have my stylus with me. Nabilin sa balay niya. But ito na ako na-charge. So muna nga, wala na ko siya na ano, no. So I have been using this one for the mathematics. Mas dali man gud siya, no. Dali siya makitaan. Unya, easier for us to really solve the problem. You could also write something. So actually, I use this one for my note taking. So I cannot really use this application if nakaano ko, ang tawag dito, wala ko, pag nabili na ko akong pen. Pero pwede ra gud unta, pero lisod. So as of now, we will just be using this one siguro, oh, your notes. Okay. Let me just try. Okay, so murag, okay raman siguro, no? Sige ra, murag dili man dahi kayo kuan. So I hope wala kayo tay problem ani ha. So far sa inyong screen dili ba siya cut or kanang half or gamay?
Dili man, ma'am. Dili, ma'am.
Ano?
Mama.
Okay. Sige. So ana lang. So we will be doing things like this. I don't know if pag mag-explain ba ko is mo ano ba siya mo sabay ba akong tingog sa ako ang pagsulat, pero we will just see, no, kasi so far okay raman po ni siyang ing-ani. Okay, so I'm just using my hand, so dira lang testing lang na siya. So from time to time, if I will be doing the demonstration or we will be having like solving or whatever that we will be doing, is kani ato ang gamiton. Pero of course, I think you cannot really ano, no, you cannot really ang tawag dito, dili mo maka-interact ani kasi sa ako nga interface, pero at least ba makita na to ang ato ang solving area. Okay, sige. Let's just proceed. Okay. So we have here on week 1 to 3, so we will be having ABCD initial CDD. So we have solve problems involving decimals, perform operations involving decimal numbers, solve problems involving ratio and portion, and solve percentage problems. So we have 4 targets for the entire first examination coverage, no? So we will be having the discussion of the decimal. So after the discussion for that is we will go with the rounding of decimal, and next is the solving of decimals. So it would be just so easy kasi dali naman na mag-plus minus multiplication divide, no? I think we could do it half for 1 hour. Tapos we could have our ratio and proportion and solving percentage problems. Medyo madugay ito diri sa pika sa ratio and proportion and percentage. Pero let's just try, no, to have like a sort of a review kasi I know for sure that all of you here has already your knowledge about these terms, these concepts, just that it's a matter of review na lang, no? So, na lang siyang i-review kasi kabalo ko, nga kabalo mo, nakalimot lang jud mo. Kinana siguro. Okay, let's start with the decimals. Sakita yun, uy. So we have decimal notation. So this is a representation of a fraction or other real numbers using the base 10 consisting of any of the digits. Nine, 12, mga ganyan. And you have to take note na pag decimal notation, ganyan na siya, ang base niya ay 10, hindi 0. So 10 na siya mag-start. So si decimals, I think the last discussion for Edmt 1 was fraction. So si decimal and fraction and percentage can be reversed, vice versa. So meaning to say, from decimal, you can have it in fraction. Tapos from fraction, you can have it in decimal. In either way, you could also have it in percentage. Tapos from percentage, you can have it in fraction. So on and so forth. So these three concepts, the decimal, fraction, and kalimot ko, percentage, kana sila. Igsuon ra na, pwede ra na sila nimo baylo-baylohon, dula-dulaon. Especially in the calculator, we have our own operation for that. But it depends on the kind of calculator also. So there are calculators manggod no nga the calculator will provide you directly the answer which is in the fraction form. And usually if you don't know how to operate your calculator, I mean your cycle. If you don't know how to operate your cycle, mag-stick ka talaga sa fraction per minti ang answer, of which you can actually reverse that one by pressing a button on your calculator. So, naan na siya dito, Tudloan ta mo, ana. By, ano na lang siguro, by Monday, I will bring my calculator. Na siya pamisliton. Kasi, our calculator is our friend, ng good, no? Especially pag magpinaspasay ta og solve. Because we know already the fact nga for one item, we only have less than a minute to solve. So pinaspasay kita og solve. So there are just things that you have in your calculator nga wala lang gid mo kabalo no nga pamisliton ninyo dito nga buttons. So naana siya dito tanan actually. It's a matter of kanang practice lang gid og timan-an lagi ninyo. Next, we have the decimal numbers. So imagine a world without decimals. What would life be like if no one invented decimals? Well, I think no, we are already oriented with decimal, especially if we are talking about prices, price, mga ingana siya, no? So, you always have to remember that decimals are located at the rightmost part of the point. Okay? So technically, ano ba ito? A decimal denotes two meanings. It may refer to a system of numeration using base 10, which the Hindu-Arabic numeration used. It also refers to a particular form used in writing the fraction. So this is what I am talking about, no? So we have the 3 over 10. It's a common fraction which can be expressed in the decimal fraction form as 0.3. Sana siya. So technically, the set of decimals are not an extension of the set of fractions. Well, dili man dyan talaga siya extension. Pero, reverse lang siya nga forma. So, dili siya extension ha, kasi kung yung magpapag-extension, same value of, mura siya same value, nga same sila tanan. So, it's not an extension, but instead, it's only a reverse form or iyahang lahi nga forma. So, like for example, if you are required to translate the the decimal into fraction, so you can do that. In either way also, you can have fraction into decimal, but it's not an extension. Yan. Okay. So, isa di ay, no? We have to remember that in the decimal, we always start at 10. Okay? So, wala ta nag-start og 0. We don't also start with 1, but we start with 10. So that's the reason when we are plotting the form of our decimals and their place values, it always starts with tens. instead of ones. Kasi the ones, hundreds, ones, tens, hundreds, kana sila, that is only applicable if your number is a whole number. But if it is a decimal number, you start with tenth, of which later on we will be discussing that one. Aside from that, when we talk about decimals also, decimals are equivalent to, decimals are greater than 0 but lesser than 1. So always remember, decimals are greater than 0 but lesser than 1. So in short, the range of the decimal is between 0 to 1. Ano lang yun siya ka-simple? Wala siya na 0, wala po siya na 1. Greater than 0, lesser than 1. So the numbers that are inside the bracket are the decimals. Ginana ang iyang pag-value. So ano lang na siya ka-simple? Kasi if the decimal will reach 1, it will become a whole number. Ana siya. And take note, 0 is also a whole number. Remember na siya, no? Kasi na-mention na siya dito sa Edmt 1. Gabalik-balik na siya dito ang 0, na siya value, 0. Na siya value, 0, of course. So, na siya, it's a whole number. Yan. So, mabito ito natin ginatawag ng whole number. We also have our counting numbers, so on and so forth. Pero whole number gina siya ang 0. So, decimals, 0, greater than 0, lesser than 1. Ana lang na siya. Okay. Let's have our, dili na ako na i-discuss ng mga Latin word ha. Mga po na useless. Useless mga po na. We are not talking about history or theory here or whatever. Diretso tas application. Okay. Kamu na basa na. We have decimal notation. So say for example, if we have 425, 425, and 137 10,000. So this should be read like that, no? So you have here, for 425, ako padakaan ha. In this case, we have 425.137. This only means that your decimal point is at the middle. And usually, the decimal point, not usually, decimal point should be read as end. So, from the decimal point to the left, that is your whole number. And from the decimal point to the right, that is your decimal. Now, take note ha, that when you have things like this, you really have to read all of them. So do not forget also their position. For example, 425 and 137, 10,000. So I guess nato siya dito upon nga discussion about that one. So if we are going to dissect, kung ato ni siyang i-dissect, ato siyang bungkagon, this would be the face of this decimal. Or this number, I mean. So you have 4 times 10 raised to the power of 2 plus 2 times 10 raised to the power of 1 plus 5 times 10 raised to the power of 0 plus 10, so on and so forth. So if you have noticed here, nahangak ko saglit. Okay. Nanubra lagi ni. Wait lang. Nanubra. Actually, nanubra ni siya na inamali diri ang pagkasulat. Kani oh. Diba 425 tapos 137, so we have 425. Kanang nastunga nga kana, wala na nailabot. Wala na nailabot ha. Na wrong na siya pagkasulat siguro or pagka-encode. So, ang sunod aning 5 times 10 raised to the power of 0 is kanimo na dayon ni sila. Dalira na nimo sila mahibalan nga decimal na kay nag-negative na sila. Okay? So, how are we going to understand this? Sige daw ha. When you have a number with an exponent of 0, automatically that would be 0 or wala gid talaga siyang value. So, That's the reason, no, that 5 retain itself. Mura na siya, oh. 10 times 10, 10 raised to the power of 2 is 10 times 10. So 10 times 10 is 100. So 100 times 4, that will give you 400. Plus 2, 10, 10 times 1, 10 times 10 times 1. So 10 times 2, that's 20 plus 5. Wala na siya. Long time no see. Wala imong amo dira, Elias. Ambot, naglakaw sila ni Jill daw. Bye. Naka, nakauyon ka dito. Nalambok magod ka. Dito na lang ka. Ah, sorry for that. Sige. Okay ha. So, you always remember, no, nga pag ang, ano gani, no, pag ang whole number gani, maka-exponent gani na siya 0, that is already equivalent to, say for example, let's say 1. So, wala na gid na siya. So, ma-erase na gid na siya dira. That's only an emphasis. Also, you could also notice, no, nga ang diri, let's say for example, if here, kana diya sa tunga, nana siya decimal point niya diha, it starts with 0. But here on the left side, tanggalon na to na. It starts with negative 1. Ana siya. So in short, na-retain gihapon niya iyahang giingon nga decimal is greater than the decimal is uh, greater than 0. Ay, saan nakalimutan ko. But lesser than 1. Marang ginana siya, no? So, iyahan na lang gipanindighan dira. Okay, sige. So you could also use that one into like this. We have in a fraction form, no? So we have 1 over 10, 1 over 100, 1 over 1,000. So it's the same concept. It starts with always 10. So wala naman tayong ones diri. So 10 na gina siya magsugod. Okay. We have here the place value chart. Okay, kabalo naman siguro mo ani. So yun na rin yun. So it starts with 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, and million. You just have to take note that there is a TH at the end of every name. Maura gyud na siya ang indication nga kaya ninyong timan-an. So sa yun naman jud di siya. It's just that sometimes mong no, we are having this confusion between place values kasi we are used to the arrangement of the whole numbers, of which the place value starts at the rightmost part. But for the decimal man gud, no, it starts with the leftmost part or the left or to the right of the decimal point. So naa siya sa left nag-start gid, no, sa mga decimal numbers. So that's the reason nga minsan naatay mga confusion. Okay. So before we will go there, let me just ask though, babe. I have a question. Do whole numbers have decimal point? Naabay decimal point ang mga whole numbers? Sige daw, try to answer that question. Naabay decimal point ang mga numbers or whole numbers, I mean. Yes, Kin.
Hello, ma'am. So, ang napansin na po naa siya'y um, um, decimal point, but after the decimal point, zero zero na siya.
Okay, correct. So actually, no, all whole numbers have their own decimal point. It's just that it's not visible anymore for the reason that following the point is already 0. So, wala na. Ano pag sulat pa mo na ni mo nga. Na naman yun na imong whole numbers. So, therefore, whole numbers are also having their own decimal point. Just that wala lang talaga na diha. Kasi nga, wala lang. Tamok lang yun na, no? Pero they have their own. So, say for example, you have number 36. So, 36.0 is equivalent to 36. That's it. So, ano lang siya, no? So, what's the use of having a decimal point if there is no decimal number following it? So, therefore, dito na lang ka sa whole number. So, that is the idea there. So, manano, nga pwede kaayo na to siya ma-solve ang whole number plus a decimal or a number in a decimal form. For example, we have 42 plus 16.23. So we can solve that one actually kasi you just have to fill in the zeros, no? Tapos you give a point. So that's one of the reasons there. Okay, sige. Let's continue. So we have here expanded form. So there are just some of the ano no, mga types or maybe ways of dissecting or separating the decimals into expanded form. So like whole numbers, decimal numbers can be expressed in expanded form. Expanded form ang tawag kay imuhang gi-expand. Ano lang na siya ka-simple. So for example, we have 624 and 326 hundred thousands. 100,000 funny. Okay, 10,000 times 100. Ay, 10,000 pala. Okay, so if this would be our number, so if we are going to okay, tawagan din, expand this, it's just the same thing as what we have read above, no? Patong na dito sa ibabaw. So, 600 plus 20 plus 4 plus 3 over 10 plus 2 over 100 plus 6 over 1,000. 1,000 gray siya. Okay. So, we have, if we are going to use also this one in a point system, so we have 600 plus 20 plus 4 plus zero point 0.3 plus 0.02 plus 0.006. It's just the same. So, mura na siyang pataya. If you want also to make it in a form of notation, so you have 6 times 10 raised to the power of 2 plus 2 times 10 raised to the power of 1. Same same ra gihapon tapos naapod siya 0 dito. So notice no, pag abot na ninyo diri you have here 10 negative 1 going there. So it starts with the negative 1 actually. Kasi it should be lesser than 1 man. So dapat negative 1. So if we are going to write this one in a number line, if you are familiar with the number line, ang number ba nga ang nasa tunga kay 0, ayun, that is an example of a number line. Same gihapon yung situation. And also in a temperature, mga ganana, no? Ganana yung forma. Kani siyang times diri pwede ra gud ninyo isulod og katong parenthesis. Uy, kato na diri sa ibabaw, mora gihapon ng pataya. Multiply ra gihapon na siya. Kani mong good no, I really don't like using mong good kaning x kasi sometimes mong good it's really confusing if you are using this one. Kaya most of the time we always use this. Kanang gisulod na lang i-enclose na lang nato siya parenthesis. Kasi this is actually understood nga multiplication. The same thing as this. So this is 5 times 10. Of course, that is 50 plus 1 plus 2 times 1 over 10. So on and so forth. Paano lang siya. So this is one way of expanding the decimal. Next, we have kinds of decimals. So we have different kinds of decimals also, no? Like for example, we have the terminating decimals. Terminating decimals kasi pwede na to siya ma-divide. It is divisible. And the numerator is divisible by its denominator. Pwede na to siya ma-divide. Okay, example. We have 4 over 10 or 4/10. That is equivalent to 0.4. So how did we get that? We have 10 and 4. Ang denominator igawas, ang 4 isulod. So 4 divided by 10. So it will generate an answer of 0.4. So you can terminate the fraction. So muna gitawag siya nga terminating po to. Terminate na na. So 6 over 1,000, you could really get the exact answer. Same thing with 3/4. Makakuha kag 0.75. Exact answer yun na siya. So wala na siya pakapin nga lain. So for example, 1,000 divided by 6. Let's try to solve the whole, ha? Ay, 6 divided by 1,000, sorry. Okay, 6 divided by 1,000. Okay, that is 0.006. So, exact answer talaga. So, terminating decimal siya kasi you could really divide the numerator by its denominator. Sana siya. So, yun lang na ang terminating. Next, we have the repeating decimal. So, we always meet this one in many scenarios, no? That's the reason that we have our own infinite or kanang tuldok diha. Let's try to demonstrate that one. Wait lang. Okay. So for example, sa kanimanggong ano no, sa kanimanggong repeating decimals, it is called as repeating decimals because it keeps on repeating. So usually we will know that it is already a repeating decimal. It's either using the ellipsis, ellipsis man ata tawag ani. I forgot. Correct me if I'm wrong na lang. Tapos, ellipsis. Basta ka ng tulok at tuldok. Pero usually, we always call that one infinite kasi infinite na talaga forever hangtod kahangturan. Amen. Na gina siya dito sa tumoy. Wag gina. Di na gina ni mo maihap kung pila na nakabuk dito. Gabalik-balik na lang gina siya. And even if we like to get the exact answer or the exact decimal for a figure, we cannot really provide it. Kasi nga, taas kaayo. Mahurot na lang nimo siya. So, there are two things that you could do. It's either you can have it in ellipsis or you can have it in a line. Koronahan nimo siya. So, duha ra gyud buhaton ninyo ana. Now, question here. Ma'am, usually no, dili sa daw be. Usually no, when we are solving manggod no, there are things nga wala na to siya nakita nga gabalik-balik na dai siya or unsa ba. And our anxiety baya no, when we are solving, especially in cases like this, we know it for sure that pag kita mag-answer gani ani mapamano-mano man o magpakalkyo-kalkyo, nagyo ginatawag na to nga anxiety or trust issues sa atong answer. Di ba? Kasi we always make sure nga sigurista ta for 1 point only. I don't know if you feel the same way as me. Basta ginana ko nga, biskan pag 1 plus 1, ako agad na siyang i-calcu. Kaya para sure jud ko nga 2 jud ang answer. Ginana ko, no? Dati mga anxiety nga mga ginana, it's normal, especially if we are pressured with the examination. Mga ginana, mga pressure ta ba? So, there are tricks in that. Now, there is a there is a thing man no, for example, let's say kaning 1/3. Kana si 1/3, kung imo na siyang i-decimal form, the answer for that is basically 0.33 hangtod sa kahangturan. Now, it's not really common no to use this one. Most of the time, our common mistake for providing answers like this is we always provide answers only with this one, 0.33. Wala na ilaing pakapin pa. So if you're answering this, kung nag-answer mo ani, this will give you a wrong answer. Why is that? Ganuan. Anong mali ng answer? Oy. Anong mali na siya? 0.33.
Duha ra man ka 3, ma'am.
Duha lang ka 3?
Dapat
Kasi
pero ma'am 0.3 lang po siya.
0.3 lang siya dapat? Ano ba talaga ang answer dyan dire?
Ma-change na ang amount, ma'am.
Ma-change na siya ang amount? Well, strictly saying ha, kaning ako ang ano dire is tinik kaning kuan ni sana, what if strict kaayo ba? Kaning ang ato atang condition, i-condition na to ato ang mind nga dapat stricto pud ta magunahuna. Strictly saying this is really incorrect. But there are cases na correct siya. Example, we have met already an item in the board examination kana mga drills lang ba nga ang iyang answer is repeating 0.44444 hangtod kang turan. Pero why is it sa options walay gibutang dito ang 0.4 or 0.44 or 0.444 or whatever nga emphasizing that it is a repeating decimal. So, of course, no, ang atuag yung kuno na is we go to the nearest answer. Mao man yun ang option na to. Even if the answer is wrong, we will go to the nearest answer man gina siya. But in many cases, manggod, strictly saying, this is really incorrect. Why is that? Kasi nagkulang ka. nakulangan nimo butang og ibabaw ing ana. So kung wala kay ing ana, butang og ani. This one. So kung wala ka ana, marong ka talaga. Wrong jud ka kasi kana lang man imong gi-provide. So kumingon ka nga 0.33 lang ang imuhang answer. So meaning to say you are giving the exact answer. 'Di ba? The exact decimal. Of which dili makamakatag sa exact decimal ani kasi this is a repeating decimal. Ana siya pagkasabot kung tinrekto siya. Pero kita kay sigurista man ta, we have to be a sigurista person, diri gyud ka. Kani gyud ang pinakakarapat dapat gyud nga answer. Ana. Ma'am, what if my answer is only 0.3? Gikoronahan ako na siya, ma'am. Is that okay? Of course, okay kay na. Ano man, that only means already nga ang kanang 3 nimo balik-balik na na. Siya man imong gikoronahan diha so sa to pa balik-balik. Okay na siya no. Okay na kaayo na siya. Now, there are things man good no. I'll give you an idea ha. Di ba we always have this kind of mistake or dili siya mistake di ay no. Kanang misconception ba and also mga naganing maano ta ba kasi tawag ani ma problema ta sa atong mga answers. Ma'am, what if the answer is repeating decimal, which is good? Unsay mas maayo, ma'am? Do we have to answer it in 0.3 or in 0.33? Actually, no, both answers are correct. Why pakialam? Both are correct. Sometimes manggod no, I don't, para sa ako lang gid ni siya no, para sa ako lang gid ni siya. Usually manggod, both answers are very much correct. Pero, ang sa ako manggod is safety purposes ba? Sobrang ko kategorista. For safety purposes, at least give 2 decimals. Ano yun? Para ma-safety ka. That's the reason, haven't you noticed, kana inyong mga answer is, nga naman gina siya, ma'am, nga ang answer is 0.12345, pero ang among ihatag is duha ra ka decimal, 0.12 lang. Did you get the idea? Kasi, mas safe manggod nga mohatag kag 2 digit kaysa mohatag kag isa. Pero wala ko nag-ingon nga mali na ha. Tama na siya. Pero kung ako'y pabuton ba, kung sa ako lang, kani ako'y answer. Ano man, safety ko. Safety ko. Pero kung wala guni siya sa choice niya, naani, dire, gugkaon, pero labo kayo. Uy, labo kayo na siya. Nga mahitabo. Never pa ko nakakita agad ana. So, pag safety purposes ka, o panigurado na imuhang pang ano gina imuha, pang kabuhayan gina imuhang tirada dira, adili jud ka duha, mas safe jud mo hatag og duha kaysa sa isa. Ana ra gid ang trick diha. Okay? Sige. So there are also cases no that numbers keep on repeating pero nagtuo ka nga nag-repeat di ay siya pero at the end di ay didto wala di siya nag-repeat. Well, usually manggod no, when we are solving, same gihapon no, we have the 1/3. Kung kita magmano-mano ta, wala tay kalkyo. Ma'am, unsaon na ko pag make sure, unsaon na ko pag panigurado sa akong kaugalingon nga dili ko maghinuktok pagkahuman sa akong answer, nga ang akong answer is tama, nga repeating gyud siya. O, katulo pag solve. How is that? Example, you are given with 1/3. Wala ko'y kalkyo. So, syempre, kabalumang ka mo translate ana. So, igawas si 3, isulod si 1. So, this is basically the thing that we are going to do, no? So, you cannot really solve them. So, you gave a point, 0, tapos na kay point niya. So, you can solve them now. We have 3. Ay, sorry, nausan na 3, 9, 1, 0 na sa niya. 3. Is that enough? Actually, no, kung makita na nimo nga, uy, balik-balik, ramang yun ni, uy, hangtod pa man ni dito sa baba. Kasi, ana na po na o niya, 9 niya, 1 na po diri niya, 0 na po niya, 9 niya, 1 na po diri. Usually, manggod, no, di ta magkumpiyansa o ginana. In this case, manggod, klaro na kay ni siya nga gabalik-balik yun. Kaya nakita naman na to. What if dili ka kasigurado. Dili ka kasigurado ba nga ang basin day og 0.33 niya pag ang tapad di ani is 5. So dili ka karon makakita, dili nimo makita karon nga dili day sila kanang ano day sila dili day siya repeating. So unsa man na siya? Hunong sa ikatulo, at least pag-provide og ikatulo. So for example, if this is 0.33 now, where are we? Okay. So magdagdag na pug kag 3 diha, mag-solve pa ka didto sa baba og pang ikatulo. Kung nibalik gani siya sa ikatulo, pasabot ana repeating na gina siya. This is one way of checking. Kung sigurista ka. This is a trick ha. Trick ra ni siya nga mga na-discover na mo. So kung sure na jud ka, panatag ka na talaga, nagabalik-balik din na siya, okay, at least you answer 0.33. Bahala na, basta sure ka nga, di gid maghilak imong puso unya. Ikabalo naman ka nga, sunod ana nga 33, maghihapon. That is one way of being a sigurista manually. Ana, kasi there are cases manggod that you will be having answers nga, pag abot nimo, pag solve nimo 0 na, no, 1, 2, 2, kagoy ni 7. Or the worst, napoy ginani nga senaryo, 4, 4. 0.44, murag balik-balik na gyud ni kagoy ning 5 ang tumoy. Ning 6 na pud ang sunod. Ana siya ba? So in that case, you really have to make sure that on the third solving, repeat gihapon siya. Pero kung di gani siya mag-repeat, padayon kasi mong kinabuhi. Kaya pag di na gani na siya mo repeat sa ikatulo, pasabot lang yun na nga, di na gina mag-repeat sa tumoy. Same thing with this one, katong nadiri I will stop this one ha. Okay, diri pa. Same thing with this. Tanawa, 2/7. Ang iyahang decimal is 0.285714. Another one. Ani, this is a plain example tanawa. So careful jud ka, 0.18, agoy ni 1. Agoy na pa di sumpay. What if manual lang ba? Manual lang ka. Ginana. Nya what if kanipod 0.83 hunong nakadiri sa 83 kaya confident na ka, wadi ka kabalo nga na pa din nagsunod-sunod dito So, syempre, no, you really have to provide the answer itself. If stricto, kung siniriktuhay lang ang usapan. So, you can provide the answer like this. Ano siya? So, kani siya, nagpasabot lang ani nga, ganing 285714. After the 4, ang sunod na po dani niya is 285714. 285714. 285714. So on and so forth. The cycle goes round and round. So, wala ni nagmatter ning corona dira sa ibabaw or line dira sa ibabaw kung pila ka numero yung maglisan sa ibabaw. Siya pake. Basta sila ang nagbalik-balik. Same thing here. 0.83. Si 8 wala man na nibalik. So, si 3 ra may gabalik-balik diha. So, siya ang butangi og linya sa ibabaw. Ana lang na siya ka? Simple. Okay. Let's go to non-terminating decimals. The non-terminating decimals also, these are decimals that is not it's not repeating, pero the answer is too long. So, dili na to siya ma-express into fraction. Imagine, you have 0.3576 na pagin na siya sumpay dito taas pagigin na siya, hala, sige daw be. You cannot terminate them. Dili nimo sila mapatay. In short, so dili mo siya dili nimo siya ma-reverse into fraction. So that is the non-terminating decimal. Unlike dito sa ibabaw, katong terminating decimal nga nasa ibabaw ba? Aha naman no. Sa terminating decimal nga, pumingong nga 6/1000, mo gid ni okay kayo. Maano dayon na to, no? Ma-plaster dayon na to sila. Kani, di mo na makaya in town, labi nagpulo na. So, taas kaya na, 1/110 trillion. Ngayon na. Pwede. So, that is non-terminating. Next, we have non-repeating decimal. Katong dili magbalik-balik. Mura na siya. Ay, nakasula pa. Non-repeating. So, it doesn't repeat at all. Okay, next. We have here terminating and non-terminating decimals are irrational numbers, tens, They cannot be expressed as the ratio of two integers. Example we have here. Take note about rational and irrational numbers ha. Naa na siya table, si rational o si irrational, kinsa to ang mga part sa rational, kinsa to ang part sa irrational. Usually manggod no, ang part sa atong rational numbers are the whole numbers. I don't know about integers if it is also included, but for the irrational most of the time is katong mga pag square root nimo is dili katagaan og square root nga exact. Example, square root of 7. Syempre, it will not generate a square root because 7 doesn't have any square root. Wala na lang kung 25 na siya. Square root of 25 is equals to 5. So therefore, square root of 7 is an irrational number. So those are just examples of irrational, no? Example. So repeating decimals can be expressed as the ratio of two integers as shown in examples below. If your answer is a repeating decimal with having 0.131313, if you're going to do this in a fraction, so let x be the given decimal. So x equals, then multiply this by 100. 100x, okay, that's 0.1313. Then 99x equals 13 and 13 over 99. Same thing with this. Well, anyway, no, let's just not focus here kasi wala na natin, na nato na siya, anohon, kasi it'll just make things complicated. But this is in the emphasis of, ano no, changing, ang tawag dito, changing repeating decimals into fractions. So this would be the best way that you have to do. Kasi repeating decimals are different to regular decimals ba yan? As you could see, we have 2.4666. So, taas naman kayo na dito. So, you say 2.466. Yan na, let x, dayon ka. Yan. Let x be the given decimal and multiply it by 10. Okay, next. Expressing fractions to decimals. Well, kung lisod kag utok, pwede magkani imong buhaton. So we have two ways no in expressing fractions into decimals. You could have this one like cross multiplication, express 4/5 to decimal. So 4/5 tapos kabulo naman ka nga 10 na siya, so x over 10. Tapos kana multiplication so on. So you generate the answer of 0.8. Pero labad kay na buhaton. Pura na laglabad kag utok, gusto kag lisod-lisoron imong kaugalingon, hala diri ka. Pero kung gusto nimo buhay gubot, peaceful imong utok, kani na lang. So, dali na lang ka, ano mo itang kaglisod garay sa yun. So, simply, the fractions could be easily, translated or reversed into decimal by just solving like this. Plain. This is the simplest way. So, isulod ang numerator, igawas ang denominator. Same, 0.66. 2/5 din na siya. Ano? 2/3. We have equivalent decimals. Sige daw ha. Let's have a question here. So what if kuno mag-add ta og duha ka 0 at the end of 0.2? Would that change its value? What if naatay 0.2? Tapos dungagan na kog 0.2 ang 0. So nahimo na siyang 0.20, 0.200. Will that change its value? Ma-change ba ang value ana? Sige daw. Oh, what do you think? Ma-change ba ang value kung ang 0.2 dungagan na to og 0, mahimo siyang 0.20, 0.200, 0.2 million, unsa ba na dira? Change ba?
Sa ako ma'am kay dili na siya ma-change kay zero na lang man pud good gihapon ang inig i-times nimo siya sa katong sa gawas po.
Okay, good. So actually, no, dili gyapon na siya ma-change. Same ra gyapon sila equivalent. So we have here an example o we have here an explanation. So kung si 0.2 is equivalent to the fraction 2 over 10, kung mao na iyahang representation, what if dungagan na to siya 0? So mahimo siyang 0.20 equivalent to 20 over 100 nga pwede mo po na to siya ma-reduce into lowest term, which is 2/10. Same with fractions pa. Kung nakakuha no sa fraction, di ba, biskan pag unsa siya kadako nga number, kung at the end of the day, already gihapon ni siya in its simplest form, same ra gihapon na sila nga value. So, equivalent gihapon sila. Ana ra gihapon storyaha diha. Example, 0.20 is equivalent, 0.200 is equivalent to 200/1000. Pero, pwede man po na to na siya ma-equivalent sa 2/10. So, same ra gihapon na siya. Sige. Sige, dili na nato na apilo ng rounding with decimal. Tama ra gudi ay. So, by Monday na lang taan na. So, at least no, diri na ta nahuman man nato na diri sa introductory. So, by Monday, we will be having rounding decimals. So, mas dali ra magyahapon to. Dali ra kita mahuman ato. Maybe mga 30 minutes human na dayon taan ng rounding decimal. So, padayon na lang ta by Monday. Sige, do we have any questions? Naa? Wala naman siguro, no? I hope there are no questions na. So we will continue later on and we will meet by 4:30 for our TLE. Okay, sige. So see you later everyone.
Bye,